What's up, everyone? Half Chrome. I've got one that I've been excited about. This is the Sea Fly Dream. It looks kind of like a DJI Spark, right? Well, how does it compare to the real thing? Let's find out. All right, so what's in the box? That's step number one. It's a nice box. Drone. Looks familiar, absolutely. We do have some instructions. Now, I've read through these. They're Remote controller. Does have a nice feel, lots of switches, place to hold your smartphone. We have two extra props, charger, right? Pretty simple. That's all we really need, right? There is a battery. It does have an indicator light on the back to tell you how much power it has. I charge this thing up. Let's get it in the air. So what do you want to know about the Sea Fly Dream? Well, it's got a 1080p camera attached to a 2-axis gimbal. That is absolutely the best part of this drone is this gimbal. When you pitch and roll, it will tilt. Now, it does not adjust for things in the yaw. Much like the Spark does not have a 3-axis gimbal, this is a 2-axis gimbal, but it does do some electronic image stabilization in the yaw. This one does not. It is a 1080p camera, but it only shoots at 23 frames a second. So you're not going to get super smooth footage like you will from the Spark. There are some waypoints. There's an orbit mode. There is a draw to fly mode. So it does have some nice modes. It is a GPS drone, so it is pretty stable. It does also have an optical flow camera. You can fly it without the GPS, which is a nice feature if you're having trouble getting GPS satellites, which I did the first time I tried to fly it. It took a little bit longer than I would have expected to acquire the satellites, but once it did, it was actually pretty darn stable, which is pretty solid. Camera quality isn't the absolute best, right? It's it's okay. It's comparable to maybe the Bugs 2C, Bugs 2W, something like that in terms of quality. Now, it does have the gimbal to stabilize it, so it is better in that regard. I do like the remote control. It's a little plastic, but it is solid enough. Switches are good. Now, got a return to home switch here. This switch, as far as I can tell, based on the directions, flipping it up 3 times, up and down 3 times, will allow you to calibrate the drone. These are your modes. So we have A for altitude or altitude hold, P for position hold, which is your GPS. That's what you want to fly in. And then S for orbit, because that makes sense. But it is the way you engage the orbit feature. We do have a dial to move the gimbal up and down, which is definitely a bonus. And then this switch here, according to the directions, puts it in standby mode. I haven't figured out that this actually does anything. It does beep like it's engaging something, but who knows what that actually is. Now, there's a button here to engage photos and videos, but I don't hear a beep, so I don't like using it. I prefer using the app, which we'll talk about in a second. Then we have a takeoff and land button. This will not return to home, right? It will just land it where it is. You have to engage the return to home switch over here. It does hold your smartphone, which obviously you're going to need to run the app. Now, the app is decent. You see we've got 3 drones. They look a lot like drones we've seen before, but we're going to click on start flying. When you're flying, you'll get information along the top. Right up here at the top, you see that we have information about satellite, signal strength. Along the left-hand side, we have our automatic takeoff and return to home. We also have a mode where you can just fly it with your smartphone. Now, I do not recommend that you fly this drone solely with your smartphone. That's generally not a good idea. You have more feel and more control when you use the remote. In the lower left-hand corner, you'll see that there is a GPS map. Now, tapping on the map will engage the other features, the waypoints, the route planning, if you're into trying those things. Now, you make sure that you understand how these things work. You can see there are misspellings here. Wish they would have fixed that, but not a super huge deal. Now, back to the initial screen. Obviously, FPV right there in the middle. On the right-hand side, those are how you take pictures, switch between video and camera mode. And at the bottom, you'll see the telemetry things that you'll want to know. How high is it? How far away from you? And things like that. Overall, the app is okay. Very simple, very basic. The upper right-hand corner are your general settings, and it does have something that I really do like, especially for beginners. You can set a geofence so it doesn't go too high or too far away from you. I would highly recommend that for any beginner pilot. The one issue that a lot of beginner pilots have is they get the drone too high or too far away and they end up losing it. So you don't want to do that. Also in the settings mode is how you calibrate this drone. I'm going to show you, you push the compass calibration. It says stay away from metal when calibrating, and then it says calibrating, right? Which confused me because I thought, oh, it's calibrating. So I started spinning it, but no, that does not actually mean calibrate. It means calibrate. So you're gonna have to push that button there, and then it will go into calibration mode where you spin it horizontally, spin it vertically, and then you can take your drone off. Do not fly this drone with GPS without calibrating it first, or it just will not behave correctly. Like really any other GPS drone. They all need to be calibrated before you fly. So we're gonna get this drone up in the air and take a look at it in flight. As you can see, it is a very stable drone. It does a nice job of holding its position, and actually does a pretty good job of holding its position with GPS on and GPS off because of the downward facing camera. It is a really nice feature. As we get it in the air and take a look at the video, it's not half bad. I would have liked to have seen a much better quality camera. In fact, I'm a little disappointed in CFly that they didn't bother to include a sensor that could handle at least 30 frames per second. It's not just disappointing, but it's actually confusing. I don't understand why they put all the technology into building this, which is a really nice drone, and then not giving it a better camera. That was a big problem with their CFly Obtain. It looks like a Mavic. If you've seen that one, the camera quality was very poor. And maybe this is slightly better, but it just isn't as good as it should be. It should be a much better drone. If I'm gonna spend $200-300 on something, I wanna take really good pictures. If I'm CFly and I put all this technology into developing a nice, small, lightweight 2-axis gimbal, why not put a better camera on it? It's maddening, actually. Put a better camera, right? Because of that, I would not buy this over the DJI Spark. That said, the DJI Spark is a much more expensive drone. To get the drone and a remote, and you, again, don't want to fly the Spark just like the Dream without one, it's going to be costly, usually closer to $400. So yes, the Spark is more expensive, so you do have to weigh that into your decision. If we look at video from the Spark, it is obviously clearer, crisper, better. It has a 12 megapixel camera. That is a much better camera, much better sensor. It's a heavier drone, right? When you feel these, you can feel that the Spark has a heavier feel. It actually has a more polished feel and look to it as well. I mean, it is a nicer drone. DJI has been doing this for years. They know exactly what they're doing. I like the CFly. It's not a bad little drone. It's good for a toy. For $200, it's a deal. For $300, it's a little bit pricey. Hopefully the price drops a little bit in the $250 range. That's when I'd probably pull the trigger. Now, if you're looking for something that, hey, you know, I want something with better video quality, but at a cheaper price, what would I recommend? Well, you might want to take a look at this. This is the Unique Breeze. It actually does shoot in 4K. It does have a 1-axis gimbal, and it's stabilized electronically. It has a couple of different sensors on the bottom, so it is a pretty darn stable drone. I've seen this thing at Walmart online actually for as low as $150. That's a steal. Once upon a time, this thing was $300, $400. So also a GPS drone, lots of different modes on that. If you want to learn more about the Breeze, you can check that out on our website. We've also made a video here. Okay, so which one is best for you? Well, that's for you to decide. Kind of depends on your budget. If you're willing to spend a few more dollars, yeah, get the real thing. But if you really want something that looks like a Spark, but for a few dollars less, pick up the CFly Dream. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you go to our website, halfchrome.com. We've got lots more information on these drones and others. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great day. Happy flying.